Again guys, welcome back to another Big Al Devlin video here at the House of Devlin, and today is going to be a particular video of interest, story time with Big Al. I hope you enjoy it. Now the story that I'm going to tell you is a child's story, but it is like a bit like the Grimm brothers stories. It's a story that has a dark edge to it, and there are different ways of telling it, because of course this is a story, the background behind the story is a story that has been passed down within my family and within my clan from generation to generation. My father taught the story to me when I was a young child, his father taught it to him, and so on and so forth, for as long as memory can remember, well, as far as memory goes back basically. Now my origins are of Irish and Nordic, well, Irish and Nordic origins essentially, and so very much obviously of a paganistic background, and so it's also a paganistic tradition to pass down certain teachings within families in an oratory form. And so despite the fact that my family for many generations now has been Christian, and I'm the only one who's returned to paganism, but has been Christian for many generations, the traditions of that paganistic origins have remained. The story has always been passed from father to son. And I must admit, part of me feels like I shouldn't be sharing this story here on YouTube, because I always envisioned myself the first time telling this story to someone else, telling it to of course my first child, my son or daughter essentially, but maybe we should see this as a dry run. Maybe it's the best way to do it. Make my mistakes on here so I can refine the process for when eventually, if I'm lucky enough to have children. But the story itself, as I say, does have paganistic origins, and like a lot of paganistic stories, it involves woods, streams, waters and animals, and also the concept of death. As I say, this is more like a Grimm brothers tale, you know, the original Grimm brothers tale with Hansel and Gretel and Little Red Riding Hood, where really those stories were quite brutal when you look at them. You know, they were quite horrible in some ways, and not stories you would necessarily tell your children. You tell them the Disney versions instead. But regardless of that, this is a story that is passed down upon the children of the Devlin clan, or the Devlin family, and of course Devlin, our old Gaelic name, our original name, back when we would have been pagans, and that was O'Drogenheim. Okay, so that's my true surname in that sense. Okay, and so the Drogenheim clan would have passed this down, as I say, right to the point where we're now known as Devlins in our anglicised name. Now the story that I'm going to tell you is a story that I believe has been probably being passed down, not just our own family, not just our own clan, but down multiple Irish clans, because I've actually heard the story elsewhere, believe it or not just through my own father. I believe I've heard it on telly once, a variation of it, and so obviously it's a story that has existed and has been passed down through multiple clans in the past. It's not unique necessarily just to my clan, or maybe it was a Devlin who had an influence in the screenwriting of whatever I watched at the time. It was many years ago when I heard it. Now the story that I'm going to tell you has the name of The Fox and the Scorpion. And I hope I'm going to give it justice in the way that I tell it, because it's a story that I really did love as a child. I would often ask my father to tell me the story again and again and again, and that's the whole point really. The story gets told in repetition to the children of my family, so that the life meaning behind the story, the moral of the story, kind of sinks in, and the children learn what it means before they get to adulthood, and where it really then becomes useful. It's not useful for children to have this knowledge. It's more for when you're an adult, and it's something that really it's better to have been taught than to learn before you get your fingers burnt. But we'll see the meaning of the story after I've told it. So without ado, story time with Big Al shall begin. Are you sitting comfortably? Okay, guys, so the fox and the scorpion. Like many tales, this tale begins in a wood or forest, not far from here, to be honest. But happened a long time ago, before men walked this world and only animals lived. Within the forest, within the wood, there was a great many deal of animals, and they all lived quite happily with one another to some degree. But there was one animal that was feared above all, the scorpion. Its sting killed many of the animals, and it was very vicious, and it was known as being a killer. It was known not to be trusted. However, at one point in time, all of a sudden, the skies opened up, and the rains came, and they kept coming and coming and coming for days, if not weeks, if not months on end. The waters were torrential, and the rivers flooded. The streams that flowed through the woods and the forest flooded their banks and started to flood the lowlands within the woods. And a lot of the animals began to become trapped by the waters. And unfortunately, a lot of the animals drowned within the waters. The animals that could not swim, they drowned because if they were trapped within the lowlands. The only way that the animals could live was to swim across the waters to the highlands where the waters couldn't reach them. And they knew that, eventually the rains would stop, the rivers would go back to how they were, and they would eventually be able to begin to live their lives yet again, as they used to. Okay? And our story really begins not with the rains and not with the forest and not the woods, but during the period of when the rains really started, when the floods were starting to begin. And at the coast, or well, not the coast, at the banks of the rivers, of the flooding rivers, there were two animals, or at least we could only see one animal. There was a fox. And the fox treaded into the water, getting ready to swim across, because as we all know, foxes are very, very good swimmers. They had no fear of water, and he knew that he was strong enough to swim across the river, swim across its currents, and reach the other side, and be safe on the highlands of the woods that he lived within. He would wait out the storms, and he would then return home once the floods had finished. However, as he stepped into the water, his very first step into the water, another animal made its presence known, and it was, of course, the killer, the scorpion, the one who could not be trusted. It scuttled across the top of a rock next to the fox, and it hissed at the fox. It said, "Fox, fox, please do not leave me here. You are a great swimmer. You will survive these waters, but I cannot swim. I will drown. I am trapped here, and I will drown in the waters, and I do not wish for this to happen. I wish to live. Please, let me climb upon your back as you swim across the waters, so that I may reach the highlands on the other side of the river." Well, the fox listened to the scorpion, and the fox is a cunning animal, an animal of great wisdom and knowledge. And it knew that this scorpion was very dangerous, an animal that could not be trusted. It lied and it manipulated other animals, and it killed them with its sting. And so he knew not to trust this animal under any circumstances, not to give it any chance to hurt him with its sting. And so, even though the fox generally had an empathy for the scorpion, genuinely wanted to help the scorpion, he didn't want the scorpion to die, he wished no harm upon the scorpion, but he could not help him, because in doing so he would endanger himself. And so he turned around to the scorpion and he said, "I'm sorry, Scorpion, I'm so sorry that you must die, but I cannot risk letting you climb upon my back. I cannot swim you across to the other side, for when I do, I will be vulnerable. I will not be able to protect myself, and you will sting me, and you will kill me as you have done many other animals within this forest. I cannot swim you to the other side, because I too do not want to die. I am so sorry, Scorpion, but I must leave you now." And with those words, the fox took another step into the waters, preparing himself to swim to the other side. But before he could step further, the Scorpion hissed again, pleading with the fox, almost a desperation in his voice. He said, "Fox, fox, please, go no further. I really, truly do not wish to die, and I make you as a result a promise. I promise that not only will I not hurt you as you swim across the waters, I will not sting you, I will not kill you, but when you reach the other sides of the highlands and when these floods have stopped, I will never hurt any animal or any other fox ever again. I will not kill any more. I will be so grateful to have lived that I will not do this. Please, fox, please let me climb upon your back so that I may live, so that I may not drown within these waters." And the fox listened to the Scorpion, and he knew the Scorpion couldn't be trusted. And the Scorpion was a very clever animal also. He saw the doubt within the fox's within the doubt within the fox, and he quickly hissed back to the fox before the fox could open his mouth to refuse him for a second time. He says, "Fox, listen. If you let me climb upon your back, and if I was to sting you, I would kill you. I'm aware of this, as are you. You are rightfully afraid of me. I am a killer. But if I kill you, I kill myself. Without you, I will drown. So I cannot simply kill you. If I kill you, I kill myself. Please, let me live, and I promise you that you and your kind will be safe forevermore from my sting." And the fox, as I say, is a cunning animal, an animal of logic, and saw the logic that the Scorpion was saying. Yes, if the Scorpion was to sting him as he swam across the waters when he was vulnerable, when he couldn't defend himself against the Scorpion, he knew that the Scorpion himself would die. He had no doubt the Scorpion probably wouldn't keep his promise afterwards, that in the highlands, once the rivers had faded away, he would become a killer again. He knew perhaps that the Scorpion would not keep this end of the promise, but he knew certainly at least he would keep the promise of not killing him as he swam him to the other side, that both him and the Scorpion could live. They could both reach the highlands and avoid drowning within the waters. And so the fox, being caring for the other life beings within for the Scorpion, even though he was a killer, he still cared. He didn't want him to die. He wasn't a murderer, he wasn't a killer, he wanted the Scorpion to live. And so he allowed the Scorpion to climb upon his back. He said, "Scorpion, come here, climb upon my back. I trust you, because I know you have no choice. You cannot kill me, because if you do, you will be killing yourself." And so the Scorpion climbed upon the fox's back, clinging to its fur, holding on tight, so that he wouldn't be swept away by the waters of the river as it passed by. And when the Scorpion was ready, the fox stepped into the river and swam across, swam very confidently through all the currents of the river. And as he was about halfway across and he could see the other side, he knew he was safe. He knew that he had passed the worst of the storms, and that he would make it to the other side, that he wouldn't be too tired to swim to the other side. And just as he got this glimmer of hope, this hope that yes, he was going to survive these rains, yes, he was not going to drown, he suddenly felt this tremendous pain. the scorpion had stung the fox in his back right when they were in the middle of the river. The fox knew exactly what was going on. He knew he was dying. He could feel the venom of the scorpion flowing through his veins. He was in tremendous pain and he grew weak. And as he grew weak, he started to sink into the waters and he knew he was going to die. And he knew also that the scorpion was going to die, and he could not understand why. Why had the scorpion killed both him and himself? Both of them were going to die, and so with his dying breath, he simply said, "Scorpion, why?" He simply said, "Why?" To which the scorpion coldly responded, "I'm a scorpion. I'm a killer. It's in my nature. I cannot help myself. I am what I am." And with that, the scorpion drowned and the fox died from the venom of the scorpion. Now, it's a dark story. A story that is very dark indeed in many respects, but it has a very significant meaning behind it. And it is all about the nature of people, the nature of the beast, if you wish, but also the nature of people. That that human nature never changes. Ultimately, once a liar, always a liar. If you are a liar, a compulsive liar, if you've lied again and again and again, you know that this person can never be trusted. That this liar will always, at one point, lie to you. If they're a cheat, there always will be a cheat. It's in their nature. They can't help it. It's part of who they are. Just as a man who shows loyalty all his life, he's not going to suddenly be a man of dishonor, of disloyalty. He's going to be loyal to his dying day. The good and the bad qualities of men and women that make up their personality are constant. And yes, sometimes you'll have bad people pretending to be good. They say, "I'll make you promises." You'll hear it all the time. Baby, I'll change. I'll be better. I won't hurt you next time. In abusive relationships, for example, a man will promise not to hurt his wife again and again and again. And yet, you'll always find the man eventually, after sometimes days, weeks, months, or even years, he will always return to his nature and become abusive again. Unfortunately, it is the nature of things that you can hide, you can lie about what you are, you can act, and you can hide and truly believe that maybe you have changed what you are, but ultimately you will always be what you were born to be. Your nature will never change, and this is the life story which our family, our clan, wants our children to learn at an early age, so that they are not taken in by people who cannot be trusted, that they only mix with people who they know can be trusted, who can be depended upon, who are like rock or solid, that they are not taken in by liars and cheats and so on and so forth. And so this is the moral of the story. This is why the story is told at an early age, because the unfortunate truth is there are very good people out there, but there are also very bad people out there. And this story, its whole purpose is to protect children when they get old enough to understand the meaning behind the story. It's to protect the individuals of the clan as much as possible, and to form a camaraderie between the clan. The people who can be trusted within the clan, within the Devlin clan or the Drobenheim clan. These are the men and women that you depend upon during times of strife, during times of hardship. You go to those that you can depend upon. You go to those that you know are good. You don't go to those who promise you the world, promise you everything you ever wanted, but who are known to be untrustworthy because their promises mean nothing. A little story to share with you, and as I say, I'll be putting it in the paganistic section because it is a story that has paganistic origins within my own personal clan. and I hope you found it interesting. So it's a bit dark and a bit grim. Maybe, I've tried to over thematic, and that there may be better ways of telling the story. My dad had a particular way of telling the story that was entertaining to children, but I tried to make it more entertaining for adults, because it's rare that children would watch a story on YouTube like this. But I hope you found it interesting and at least insightful to the way that, certain clans looked upon the world, and that was the way that my clan saw the world. Fundamentally, I suppose it showed that we didn't trust people very much. We didn't trust outsiders, but we trusted inherently, and showed loyalty to those who showed us loyalty back, no matter what, because that is ultimately what we saw. That goodness will always be in good people, even if they're trying to be, seen as cool by doing bad things, and that they ultimately will always return to doing creative or good things. But bad people will always be bad in nature. They will always be destructive in nature. It's the Innengard and the Uttengard, so to speak. Those, you are what you are, and whether it doesn't matter how much you try, your nature will always reveal itself sooner or later. No matter how hard you try to hide it, no matter how hard you try to combat it, even if you don't want to be the person that you are, it doesn't matter. You are what you are. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope it has shown you a little insight to how certain clans fought and looked upon the world. Thank you.